Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show, where business, as usual, gets a swift kick in the ass. If you're tired of the same old advice and ready to disrupt the status quo, you're in the right place. I'm cutting through the noise with bold strategies, unfiltered truths, and a no-nonsense approach to entrepreneurship, video marketing, and content creation. Buckle up, because it's time to level up, stand out, and dominate your market. This isn't just another podcast, it's a wake-up call for entrepreneurs and would-be aspiring solopreneurs who are all in. Let's get started. All right, congratulations. You've escaped the corporate grind. You're no longer forced to deal with managers who breathe down your neck. You don't have to deal with micromanagement. There's no more endless meetings that definitely could be emails. There's no more asking for time off requests. You're the boss, but here's the kicker. No one is coming to save you. That's what we're talking about this week on the Chris Hanna Show. I think it's important to highlight this, is that at the end of the day, no one is going to hold your hand because you are the boss when you become an entrepreneur. You see, the entrepreneurial dream comes with a cold dose of reality, and that is total self-accountability. Because there's no one to assign your tasks or check your progress or to even bail you out when things go sideways. It is all on you, which is both terrifying for some and exhilarating. If you're ready to really thrive in this new reality, let's talk about what it takes to be your own boss. Because I'm thinking a lot about this lately, right? I've been in this journey over the last number of years to become my own boss, to have my own business. But a lot of people don't understand the challenges that come with it. And it can be hard when there's no one telling you what to do. And I think I want to start with this statement here, that self-accountability is really a non-negotiable when it comes to this. See, when you're the boss, there's no structure unless you create it. It's why self-accountability, I think, is really the foundation of entrepreneurial success. Because at the end of the day, your results that you have, well, they're your responsibility. If something doesn't get done, there's no one to blame but yourself. When you look at time being your most valuable asset, if you don't have discipline, it's easy to waste hours on low priority tasks. I know I have been super guilty of that, getting distracted by things that I probably shouldn't be doing. Your reputation also depends on your follow through. So when you're interacting with clients and partners and customers to trust you to ultimately deliver for them every single time, it is, again, all on you in that accountability. The freedom of entrepreneurship is that double-edged sword. Like, you can do anything you want, which is great. And I advise people all the time that they should leave their job if they're unhappy and start their own thing. But you have to hold yourself accountable. See, the harsh reality is this, is that being your own boss, it is hard. But we're going to dispel some myths though here too, and that entrepreneurship isn't, about those people who just kind of go sit in a coffee shop somewhere, or they go lay on a beach and bring out their laptop and have flexible schedules. That's not what it's about. What it's really like is that no one cares if you fail. The world isn't watching and waiting to cheer you on. You have to create your own momentum, 100%. Discipline is everything. Without a boss, it's up to you to stay focused, to stay productive, to drive results. The other thing that's true is that the grind is real, especially in the beginning. You're going to wear every single hat. You're the salesperson, the marketer, the accountant, customer service. You're fulfilling the roles of whatever your business is doing and more. So I think entrepreneurship really is that mix between equal parts freedom and responsibility. So sure, it's one thing to say from an accountability perspective that you are that person, but how do you build self-accountability as a system in your business yourself? Because if you want to succeed as your own boss, you do need a plan. And here's how I think you can ultimately hold yourself accountable. 1, let's start this way. Let's start setting clear goals for yourself. Define what success really, truly looks like for you. What do you need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and beyond, really? Make your goals specific and measurable and tied to deadlines. I think the idea of having things tied to deadlines is really critical. I actually look at it as a game of how many things on the list can I do that are going to be done by a certain period of time. And then once I have that done, I feel really good about it. The goal is obviously to get as much done as possible in the shortest amount of time without exerting so much energy. The other thing you should also focus on is developing, or using some sort of system, right? Like there's tools out there, Trello and Asana, or even a simple planner to help you map out your tasks, to track your progress. Even if you're just using an old school list, like have some sort of way to keep yourself organized, to write down the stuff that needs to get done. Because if you don't, I think it's going to be a problem for you. Then it comes down to creating routine. Now, I find this, and I will admit this, I find this to be one of the biggest challenges that I personally still struggle with from time to time, is having that routine where you structure your day. I do try and advise a lot of people, and I need to probably take my own advice too on this, to work more with time blocks for focused work, breaks. That's where I really get messed up. I don't take enough breaks. I'm quite happy to keep going and going and going. And before you know it, like I feel a little tired and exhausted. So it comes down to, building that routine. Obviously, building routine, though, is about consistency, right? The more you consistently do that routine, the more it's going to become like muscle memory for you. It's super easy and repetitive, which is great. The other thing I think it's important to build self-accountability is to check in regularly, like review your progress at the end of each week. What worked, what didn't, adjust as needed. Recently I just went through this exercise where I was super slammed for a long time. Like it just felt like every single week I just was getting inundated with so many requests, which is a good thing because obviously it means you're fulfilling business. But then I had to look at it and I was like, I'm saying yes to jobs that I shouldn't be saying yes to. I'm saying yes to timelines that probably are putting more pressure on me and my team than it probably should. So it became down to, what am I saying yes to? And again, looking at checking in regularly to understand where I'm sitting was important. The last thing I think that's really critical that's going to help you from a self-accountability perspective is to find accountability partners. That could be as simple as, other business owners, maybe checking in with them more regularly. So you're kind of co-mentoring people back and forth. I've had a lot of people ask about that lately. Maybe you can join a mastermind group. There's some of those that are out there. You could hire a coach, or again, just partner with some peer or family member or somebody who can help keep you on track and stay motivated. Because that's another piece that I think I also want to cover in this episode here too, is that like when you're your own boss, and say you're a solopreneur, or even if you have employees really for that matter, it's hard to stay motivated when no one's watching, right? Like if you don't have maybe external deadlines, like maybe you do from a client perspective, but you don't have maybe any supervision, staying motivated can be tough. And so a couple things that I think are really critical to remember is, one, connect with your why. Remind yourself, why did you even become an entrepreneur in the first place? If you don't have a strong enough why, you're never going to be successful in anything that you do. I look back on myself and realize that like when I tried to be an entrepreneur early on, I didn't have a strong enough why, but eventually I did. And when I left I'll call it the corporate world and kind of really truly bet on myself, I was pushed so far away from ever wanting to go back into that spot that why drove me to live the life that I wanted to live on my terms, to operate a business my way without outside interference. That why was driving me and what I was focused on. The second way to stay motivated when no one's watching is to celebrate the small wins. I'm a big believer in that. Like if you've done something well and it's worked out, celebrate it. Every milestone matters, no matter how small it is. So there are times when my wife and I, we will go and enjoy a nice dinner out because something positive happened. I think it's important to kind of go and celebrate moments, big and small. The more you celebrate those small wins, the more that those wins stack up and you generate momentum in your business. Next way to motivate yourself is to visualize success. Picture what your life will look like when you achieve your goals. When you have a better idea of what that looks like, it's unbelievable what you can achieve. And I said this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. I think this last piece is vital when it comes to staying motivated. Take breaks. Rest is essential for sustained motivation and creativity. I love the idea of maybe even giving yourself even more of an extended break too. And by that, I mean, I love to travel whenever I can. And so I like to try and make sure that there's a vacation, scheduled out every so many months, so that I have something to look forward to, in addition to just making sure I'm taking those days off. The other thing that I do, and I started the business this way, and then it changed, and then I kind of compromised, I think, a little bit. But I'm going to be going back to it definitely now. I would pick one day a week and say, this is a no client facing day. This is no meeting day. This is a day where I'm just going to focus and be me. And I think that's important to ultimately do too, is to find that time for yourself. Because here's the thing too, we also have to remember, if we fail at self-accountability, there's some major risks. The consequences actually can be quite severe. Like off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is like missed opportunities. You've got procrastination. Maybe you're putting off things that you should be dealing with. Maybe disorganization also comes into play, and that can cost you clients. It can cost you revenue. I think that there are many times in an entrepreneur's journey where we focus on the wrong things, and that pulls us away from what we should do. I will admit that there has been times throughout this journey with what I do at All In Content where I said yes to certain projects or partnership opportunities or events to partner with other people, and they were probably the wrong tactics that pulled me away from my core. And, I could see that when I didn't focus on what I do best and started doing other things, it maybe, took a little bit of a slower period for me in the business. And then you got to take a long time to kind of ramp back up again. The other risk of failing at self-accountability is a loss of credibility you can have, because if you fail to deliver, say with your clients, that's going to damage your reputation, damages your relationships, and obviously does no good for you at all. But your reputation is everything. You got to guard it with your life. And then I think the other big risk that comes to mind is stagnation. If you don't have discipline, your business will plateau or decline. And again, it is a wild, wild ride when you are an entrepreneur. So if you don't focus on it the right way, you're going to do yourself a major, major disservice. Like, accountability isn't optional. It's the backbone of everything that you're probably going to achieve. So make sure you do it right. Like, some of you listening to this might be thinking, well, what does self-accountability mean in entrepreneurship? And I really define it as, it means taking full responsibility of your actions, your decisions, the results, without relying on others to push you to do so. As I said, I'll kind of recap a little bit of the themes here. Like, how do you stay disciplined as your own boss? I think it's important to create those clear goals, stick to routine, use tools or accountability partners to stay on track. And there's going to be times where you're going to struggle with procrastination. And when that happens, make sure you're taking those bigger tasks, break them into small steps, set deadlines, eliminate distractions to make sure that progress continues to happen. And then if you do fail, because hey, we're human, we're going to fail. There's times where it's not going to, go how we thought or planned. Own your mistake, learn from it, adjust your approach. Resilience, I think, is a massive part of being an entrepreneur, and you need to be able to do that. Some people think as an entrepreneur, you have to work 24/7. And I will admit there was times throughout this journey, I have worked way longer than I probably should have, but it's not effective. Like, the more effective entrepreneurs out there, they prioritize the high value tasks and then they delegate and then they take that time to recharge. If you're not doing any one of those three, right? If you're not prioritizing the high value tasks, if you're not delegating to others, or I'd say we're outsourcing maybe too, and you're not taking time to recharge, you're going to burn out. And that does you no good. So, like, when I think about it though, like when I became my own boss, I honestly thought I had it all figured out. Like, I was a little arrogant when I first, got it. I'm like, there's no more micromanagement because I dealt with that with some shitty bosses before. There's no more office politics because I dealt with a fuckload of that throughout my career. It's just me. It's my goals and my world of possibilities. But then I think reality hit very early on. I had no one to blame if a ball got dropped because it's all on me. You see, self-accountability can be a rude awakening, but I think it also became one of my better strengths that I have, because I learned to start setting goals and to create systems and to stay disciplined. And even when no one was watching, And that's when I felt like my business really started to take off. Like those first several months were a bit of a struggle. And I'd even say I'd put it like maybe 6 to 8 months. And then what I started to learn is that like being your own boss isn't just about freedom. It's actually about responsibility. Because the more you own your time, the more you own your choices, the more the results that you own, the faster you're going to grow. So if you're struggling to stay on track, start small. Pick one goal at a time, one habit, one task. Commit to crushing it, and then build it from there. No one is going to hold your hand. Thing is, you don't need them to either. You've got this. Now, go out there, show the world what you're capable of. Again, thank you for tuning in this week to the Chris Hanna Show. I hope you got some value from today's topic. I think it's important, again, to make sure that we are self-accountable as business owners, as entrepreneurs, in any aspect of our life as well. All right, until next time, continue to keep going all in. All right, that's a wrap for today's dose of reality on the Chris Hanna Show. If you're fired up and ready to kick some serious ass, then I've done my job. But remember, knowledge without action is just wasted breath. So what are you going to do? Sit around and let opportunities pass you by? Or are you going to step up and take what's yours? The choice is yours, but don't expect sympathy if you choose the easy road. If you've got value from today's episode, smash that subscribe button, leave a review, or share it with somebody who needs a wake-up call. Don't keep this gold to yourself unless you're afraid of a little competition. Stay bold, stay hungry, and remember, always go all in. Until next time, this is Chris Hanna signing off. Now go out there and take what's yours.